Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the session of Suns Out with Google Summer of Code, organized by the FOSS, Women in FOSS, and the Mozilla Clubs of SLIT. I'm sure most of you are aware and pretty excited about today's proceedings. If you are a newbie here, don't worry, we got you covered. So, Google Summer of Code is a global online program focused on bringing new contributors into open source software development. GSoC contributors work with an open source organization on a 12 plus week programming project under the guidance of mentors. Although deciding whether to grab it as slowly is slowly up to you, we urge you to accept this challenge as it will help you grow personally and professionally. Also, GSoC comes with much more benefits. Let me introduce you with today's round of speakers who are here to help you guide you with the program. We have Asay Piris, a software engineer at IPAX, and Jayasankar Veerasinghe, a product quality engineering lead who will provide you with a full awareness session on GSoC. We also have Kalana Vijayatunga, Anjula Samarasinghe, and Puma Ratnayaka to share their experiences with GSoC. So, without further ado, we'll now move on to our first speaker, Asay Piris, who is a software engineer at IPEX. He was also a contributor at GSoC 2019 and Catrobat and GSoC 2020 at Terasology and Coduino. Asay, the stage is yours.
Hi, Sheikh, and yeah. So, okay, yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Marcel, and to start things off, I'll start off by giving you a brief introduction about myself. So, I'm Marcel, and I studied at SLIIT, and I'm currently working as a software engineer at IPAX. So I completed GSoC twice. So this was back in 2019 and 2020. So during 2019, I did it with the organization called Catrobat. So this was this was with a project called Pocket Code, and Pocket Code was simply put a simple program that allows cognitively impaired and cognitively impaired patients as well as students to get introduced to coding. So my task there was to implement like a simple collision detection mechanism within the application. So this was a this was an Android project, and yeah, that was what I did during that project. The second one was under the organization Terasology. So during that project, I had to implement a web-based solution from the ground up that basically allows the contributors of Terasology Foundation to get in touch and contact org admins of the Terasology Foundation. So moving on, yeah. So what exactly is GSoC? You might be wondering. Like, I'm sure you might have like, if you are coming from a CS background, I'm sure you might have heard this term before being talked here and there. So GSoC stands for Google Summer of Code, and it's simply put, it's an event being run globally by Google. So basically, what their main goal of this event is to introduce students, university students mainly, to the world of open source. So the the main goal is to like they want to get us introduced to open source, as well as they want to like make sure that people can continue to contribute to these open source solutions that are like spread out throughout the world. So I'll give you a brief summary of the timeline of GSoC. So currently we are in this second phase. So if I start from the very beginning, so at the very beginning of each and every year, like Google partners up with a set of organizations. From partnering up, I mean like even like if you have an open source organization, you are able to like register, and basically they like go through your open source projects, and they decide, they choose a set of organizations to participate in that particular year's GSoC, the GSoC event. So what happens is afterwards, on like with, I believe it's roughly happens in February. So in February they usually announce these selected set of organizations, and after these organizations are announced, the students can go to these the page, the org pages, and like within every organization there's a set of ideas, as in these ideas are like, so each organization, they have a set of uh, a list that contains like a small set of projects. So in each one of those projects they have mentioned like, we have these specific set of requirements that needs to be done, and if you feel like, if you as a student, if you feel like you are capable of doing that, then you can proceed to create a proposal for that particular project. So afterwards, like for example, let's say you have a web development background and you are interested in doing a web development based project, then what you can do is you can simply go to the GSoC website, and on the GSoC website you have like, you can filter out these organizations by the by either web development, mobile, data science. Likewise, there are some filters there, and you can go through the set of projects, and then make sure to like read what is required within this project, and then you can like, if you feel like you can implement whatever that is mentioned within that project, then you can create a small proposal, and then you can apply for that. So that's what happens between the second dot and the third dot. Basically, that students uh, prepare their proposal, and they can submit their proposals during this particular time period. So after, like, I believe this year the deadline for student application proposal, like this student application period is on March 19th. So basically, we don't have much time left. So if you are planning to apply this year, I highly suggest you basically start going through these organizations today itself, because it's we you honestly don't have much time left. So it's better if you can get started as soon as possible. So once you submit your application, what happens next is they have this period called application review period. So during this period, the organizations, they go through your submitted proposals, and then they choose a like, they have a set of, I believe they have a quota of students that they can allocate, like they get allocated a certain quota each and every year. So if they have 3 students, they go through all the proposals that have been submitted, and then choose the like uh, uh, three most prominent students from that list. And then, so after this review period is over, on May 4th, they'll be announcing the selected set of students. So something that I see, like, that most students, that what they don't really do is like, during this particular period, they think that they don't have to like contribute, uh, or like they just simply stop contributing. So my advice is to like, even after you submit your application, your goal should be to like make sure that you have to like try and make yourself look special from the rest of the crowd. So that's basically like, if even like, even after this period, so even if you can keep contributing to whatever small bugs or like features that they have requested, then that would be the best. So once the student projects are announced, we have this small period called community bonding period, and afterwards, on May 29th, the coding phase begins, and there are three evaluations. So after the coding starts, there are usually 3 evaluations. So within these evaluations, they like they basically judge you based on what has been completed. So during the first evaluation, like they basically judge everything, and afterwards, like once everything is settled, after the final evaluation, the results are announced on September 5th. So moving on, I mean, you might be wondering like the reasons uh, why you want to like contribute to GSoC. Uh, and one small thing, I think, uh, yeah, I think I might have made a mistake here. So the student application period deadline is on April 4th. So I think there's something wrong with my slide. So sorry about that. So the student application deadline is on April 4th. So you only have, I believe, just over a week's time to prepare a student application. So it's best if you can get yourself started today because you don't have much time left. So moving on, you might be wondering why you want to apply to GSoC. So there are so many different reasons. So out of those, like I'd say the most important one is this first one. So during my period doing GSoC, I learned so many things. So it's not only limited to technical stuff. So I learned a lot of a plethora of technical related things, but at the same time, I mean, I learned so many other things such as like how to approach a certain problem, and how to document things. Likewise, there are so and how to properly test things out once you complete a task. How to properly test it. Likewise, there are so many different things that I learned. And also, like one small thing is you also get recognized by Google. So at the end of this summer of code, if you successfully complete it, you get a letter saying that you completed this project during this time period and such and such. So and also like obviously you become a committer for free and open source software. So that's a nice thing to have in your resume. And this point as well, I really like this point because you get to work with so many people all over the world. So let's say you get assigned into a project. In that case, yeah, you will be getting to work with you'll each get assigned a mentor. So this mentor, in most cases, like they are like well versed in like software development or like whatever project that you are working on. So you will be able to learn so many different things from these awesome people that you'll be meeting. And at the end of the project, like you'll be getting some swags. So in my case, I got a Summer of Code T-shirt and a couple of tickets, and yeah. And last but not least, you'll also be getting paid a hefty amount. So in my case, it was 3,000 US dollars. So I think it roughly equates to 10 lakhs right now. I don't know, like, so that's a huge sum. So in my case, I was able to like even uh, pay for my tuitions, and like even I managed to pay for my slit tuition using this. And yeah, so that's really nice as well. So some common misconceptions that I had when I was talking with some of my fellow like colleagues that were trying to apply for GSoC. So some misconceptions they had were like they they felt like I felt like most of them were like they were worried because they haven't really worked in an open source project before. So this I think this I think was I mean, this is not necessarily something that you should be worried about, because I mean, at the end of the day, even the most veteran coders out there that are working on open source projects, they themselves had to start somewhere, right? So it's just a matter of like getting yourself started, and believe me, like it's not that hard as it seems like. So it's just like you have to like build up some courage and take that first step. So that's all that is. And afterwards it's you'll be wondering like why this was so easy, so and so forth. So and the other misconception I saw, that was like most people were thinking like they won't be having enough time because they had so many work and assignments from the university. But this also, like, even when I was doing my second GSoC, like I had my university work as well as I was doing an internship at IFS on the weekends. Sorry, on the weekdays, and my university lectures were on on weekends. And on top of that, I had exams and assignments as well. So if I did it, I'm sure, like, and coming from me, I'm not a straight A student as well. So I was just like, I had somewhere around 3 or 3.2 something GPA. So I'm sure that if I did it, you can definitely manage it as well. So the third point is, like, most people feel like they are not a master coder. So you don't have to be a master coder to get started, or like get started with open source. So, or like to start contributing, there are so many easy small tasks. Like, you can, if you feel like you don't have the technical, like, knowledge, or like technical knowledge to implement something in a open source project, like, you can start working on some sort of a documentation task, like, to start things off and to get a better idea about the architecture and everything. So you don't, like, obviously it's better if you have some coding knowledge, but it doesn't mean like you don't have need to have, you don't need to be a master coder in order to, like, get started with open source. So this fourth point, like, it's sometimes I know some of you might feel like you won't get through. The chances of you getting through this is really slim. But believe me, like, if you put in the, like, effort into it, it's definitely possible. Because I have seen, so, like, some of my friends. I mean, in my case as well, I didn't get selected the first year itself. The first year that I applied, like, I didn't get selected. So I just continued to apply the next year and the year after as well. So it's just a matter of, like, putting your effort in, and I'm sure if you put enough effort into it, you'll definitely make it through. So what do you need to know in order to, like, apply to GSoC? So in my, like, I feel like being proficient in a programming language, whatever it is, like, if you are good with Java, then there are projects related to Java, like, and if you are good with JavaScript, or like all sorts of those JavaScript libraries, then there are projects related to that. Likewise, being good with a certain programming language should be enough. And most importantly, you should be able to know how to use VCS tools. So something, you should have a good understanding about JIT in order to, like, to work with these organizations. In some cases, like, they might be using, like, some other version control systems apart from JIT, but in that case, they most of these organizations, they have, like, well written documentation. So if they are using another VCS, like, you'll be able to go through their documentation and get a good idea about the VCS that they are using. And this third point is, I feel like this is really important. So being able to communicate whatever that you're working on, or like when you're stuck with something, I feel like that's extremely important. And I mean, it, like, it might feel like it's even though you might feel like this is all technical, and, like, if you are technically proficient, then that should be enough. But I feel like this third point is, like, a really important one, because I have seen personally, like, a fellow colleague who ended up failing GSoC because he couldn't properly communicate what he was doing. So make sure to, like, even when you're stuck somewhere, make sure to, like, properly communicate it to your mentors, or like, and most importantly, like, make sure to document whatever that work that you're doing, and you should be good to go. Yeah. So under attitude, I believe this section would be covered by Jayasankar in the next slide. So in the next slide, next presentation. So I'll briefly go through some attitude and commitment related stuff here. So uh, sorry, when you're applying to GSoC, like, you should, like, I mean, it's a bit too late, I feel like, right now, but try to be as early as possible. So you have, like, I believe, roughly 1 or 2 weeks left, one and a half weeks left, I believe. So just be an early bird and find a project that best suits you. So don't focus on too many projects. Just try to find a project that interests you and that matches your tech stack, and that should be enough. So the next step would be to go through their GitHub repos, or and then like uh, try to like get a good grasp of what their code base does, and most importantly, then you should start going through their issue tracker. So and if you find any unassigned issues or like any small easier bug fixes, then you can start off by talking to one of the org admins, and you can start working on those issues. So next you can like this would be the like earlier step that you do. So make sure to like find their mailing group or their chat channel or Slack or whatever they're using, join that channel, and introduce yourself to their org admins. And then if you come across any questions, just make sure to ask those questions openly. Don't be afraid, because these people uh, that are like contributing to open source software, they most of the time, from my personal experience, they are always there to help you. So that's something that I can vouch on. So if you have any questions, like, make sure to ask them, and I'm sure like you'll be loving the responses that you'll be getting from them. So yeah. So I think the most important aspect, like in order to get selected to GSoC, is to be special. Like, from being special, what I mean is like you should be able to like stand out from the rest of the crowd, as in the rest of the applicants, and be special in some manner. But that doesn't mean like what the things you can do to do like be special is to like, if someone asks a question, uh, make sure to answer that like in a polite manner, and that your these org admins, they will like definitely notice those things, and be sure to answer questions and ask questions. And when you're asking questions, most importantly, like, do some research first, and with like, even when you're like wording that question, make sure to mention that I like, first I went through this particular documentation and I read this article, but I have understood up to this point, but after that I can't, like, even after I tried these things, I can't seem to understand what's happening here. So when you're asking a question, make please make sure to do some research first. And when you're like talking with other people, or like whenever you are in a meeting, or like whenever you are chatting, be polite, and yeah and yeah, these 2 points, yeah, you can the sooner you can fork the project and start working on a small bug or implementing a small feature, then that's the better the chance that you have to get selected to GSoC. Yeah. So moving on, uh, I have some basic communication guidelines. So these things are not necessarily that important, but when if you can incorporate these things, that would be best. So like, whenever you are like talking with someone, don't you just use sir or madam, just mention their name, being polite, and do some research before you ask questions. Don't use like small acronyms. Communicate using English. No personal messages. Don't use important or urgent like tags. Don't use ads. Likewise, if you can, these aren't like necessary, but if you can incorporate these things when you're communicating with these other members of the organizations, then that would be nice. Yeah. So once the organizations are announced, like uh, I mean this. So we are currently within this phase. So the organizations for this year's GSoC have been announced. So I think the next step is to check through those organizations and select a project for your project that you will be able to contribute to, and then you'll have to write a proper proposal to apply to that organization. So I think this writing a good proposal. This would be covered by Jayasankar in his presentation. So yeah. So hopefully, like after you apply and after you get accepted, make sure to like you bond with your mentors. From bonding, I mean like get to know your mentors, have a small chat with them, and ask them any question that you might be having, like whether like whether be it on communication or like whatever question you have, just ask it from them. They'll be there to help you out. And most importantly, never teach meetings. So if you like if you can't make it to a meeting, like let them know beforehand, like I have this coming up and I won't be able to make it, like able to make it to this meeting, and likewise. So don't ditch meetings, because I have seen a fellow colleague unfortunately failing GSoC because he wasn't able to make it to one of these milestone meetings that we were having. So, and finish your work on time, and always like try to deliver as you promise. Like, I mean, I'm sure that you'll be able to do it. So, yeah. So, so yeah, one thing that most importantly, or the last thing that you should remember is it's your organization that decides whether you have passed GSoC or not. So make sure to like have a uh, good good way of communication with your organization, and like if they ask you to do something, even if it's out of scope, uh, make sure you like go that extra mile and do it. So yeah. So once GSoC is over, like I don't think this is very important at this point. Like you can continue to keep contributing, and make sure to keep in touch with the community. So to this day, I still keep in contact with my mentors that I met during 2019 and 2020. So, and also you can apply to be a mentor next time. So I think we have some speakers here from OpenMRS who are already mentors. So you'll be able to learn a lot from them, and yeah, and also you'll be famous in the first community, hopefully. So I hope I inspired like you guys to apply to GSoC. Uh, I know this might sound a bit overwhelming, and I'm sure the with the following content as well, it might sound overwhelming. But like what I'm saying is like don't be discouraged. Even like 4 years back, a small story to end my presentation. 4 years back, I was exactly in your same position. This was during when Nadunaya was the head of the first community, and I had no idea what this GSoC thing was about. And at the end of the presentation, I was overwhelmed as well. So I had no idea what the heck I just heard. So but I just wanted to give it a go and see what would happen. So I mean, I feel like that was one of the like uh, most like amazing achievements of my life so far. So we'll see. Like, make sure like don't be discouraged, and make sure to take your first step. I'm sure you go a long way. So with that, I'd like to I think we can move on to the next present. I believe it's Jayasankar. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Asel, for that informative session. Next, yes, we have a special guest once again. He was a GSoC student at 2020-2021 at the OpenMRS, a GSoC mentor at OpenMRS in 2022, and currently he is a product quality engineering lead and GSoC organization admin at OpenMRS. Jayasankar Virasinghe, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Sairu. So yeah, I think you can see my screen. I'm Jayasankar. I did GSoC twice, and I was a mentor for two GSoC projects. And this year I'm a GSoC admin at OpenMRS, and I'm also an employee at OpenMRS. I'm currently working as a product quality engineering lead at OpenMRS. So apart from that, I was the CEO of SEF. That was one of the volunteering organizations in Sri Lanka focusing education. All right, so it's 26th of March, right? The application deadline is on 4th, but like we have 9 more days for the deadline, right? So it's before I start, I need to say that it's never too late or too soon. This is the right time. You have enough time to write a proposal, right, and get selected. I applied for GSoC for the first time on 2020. So I also had only like less than week, I guess, like 7 or 8 days when I'm first joining the Open MRS community. So I know it's possible and it can be done. So don't think like you don't have time, right? So yeah, let's go through. So what I'm trying to focus today is how to write a GSoC proposal and what we are expecting from student as a GSoC admin or a mentor. What are the expectations from our side and how to write a good proposal, right? So you might wondering how to start select an organization, right? So here, if you just Google for GSoC 2023 organizations, then you will end up with this page. This page lists down all the organizations that they have registered with GSoC, right? So we can see here there are 171 organizations. So these organizations are like uh, most famous open source organizations in the world, because like there's a big application process for the organizations as well. It's not easy to get selected as an organization for GSoC. So these are like really good communities, open source communities. So what you need to do is you need to go through this list and pick one org based on your interest, maybe like your skill set, right? So if I like search for Java based organization, so we have a list of um, orgs that use Java as a technology. And if I click on one, then say something went wrong because I'm using my mentor profile like this. If I click on an organization, I don't know. Anyway, you will end up with a idea list page, something like this, right? So there's a link to their wiki page, which lists all the ideas, project ideas. And here's what we have at OpenMRS. So we have a bunch of projects with 2 mentors per project, and we have like given a small description of what we are looking, and the project length and stuff, right? You can like this is something similar in other organizations as well, right? Click on one and go through the ideas list to see whether like there are some interesting project ideas, or maybe you can come up with your own ideas as well, right? You can write your own proposal for your own idea that you might think that it benefits for the community. So yeah, then what you need to do is start writing a proposal, right? Now you have selected an organization and you think like you have some sort of project idea selected, and go through this organization, right? They have their own chat forums, um, uh, discussion forums, mailing threads, or whatever. Their documentations, go through them, get familiar with the organization, and you can start writing a proposal, right? So if I talk about the proposal, there are some key stuff you need to include on your proposal, right? At the end of the day, it's just a Word document, like converted into a PDF, right? Then you have to submit it through the GSoC portal. You can apply to up to 3 projects. Anyway, just at the end of the day, it's just a PDF document, right? So you need to make sure that you include these elements on your proposal, right? So we can divide this proposal, basically your application, into 2 parts. First one would be a section about yourself, right? So usually organizations have their own templates, right? At OpenMRS, we have a structure, like there are some questions you need to answer regarding yourself, right? So we are asking, yeah, studying, what are your previous experience, or what are the projects you have done, what are the programming languages you are familiar with, so and so. So this is different organizations have their different structures for maybe mandatory questions, right? So make sure that you demonstrate your skill set and your relevancy for the project, and why you are applying for that particular project, why you are interested so much in that, and why they need to pick you, right? So those stuff you need to include on this section, right? I mean, you don't have to have a separate section. Maybe like when you are composing, make sure that you include these details on your proposal. Okay, so the application. So the next part is the proposal, right? So the proposal, we can divide this proposal into 3 chunks, right? The requirement, and the design, and the implementation, right? So what's the requirement? Requirement is the problem that you are going to solve, right? So say the ideas are the project ideas are they are problems that organizations are looking for a solution, right? Say that if we go through this OpenMRS project list, we need a print feature, or we need to make our OpenMRS UIs responsive for different screens, or we need some sort of new implemented tools, or whatever. Like these are some burning problems that we have as an organization. So you need to document the problem that you are trying to solve. You need to make sure that you have an idea about what you are trying to solve, right? Otherwise, you can't provide a solution without knowing the problem, right? So what you need to do is you need to identify the problem. You can have a chat with your mentors, or maybe you can post on their discussion forums, or maybe you can join their meetings and ask questions, right? So that will help you to identify the requirement. So then what you need to do is you can document your findings on your proposal, right? You can use maybe there are some different ways that you can document the requirement. You can use maybe some sort of diagrams. You can identify the stakeholders, like people who are going to use this system, and what are their goals, right? And maybe you can have some user stories or personas. Maybe you can go through, you can document what are the current solutions for this problem, and what are the current systems that they are using. So issues with the current implementations or whatever, you can document them, right? Likewise, it will help us as mentors or admins to understand whether you have a clear idea about the problem that you are going to solve, right? The next thing is the design. Design is not, it's a some graphic design or something. Like, it's the solution, right? Now you know the problem, then now you need to come up with a solution for that problem, right? So the solution is how we are going to solve it, right? So maybe if it is a UI related project, you can add some wireframes saying these are the things, this is how it's going to look like, and these are the components that it would have, and these are the functionalities of each component, and maybe like you can have class diagrams, right? There are some sort of things, right? UML diagrams and stuff. So you can add some diagrams to support your explanation, right? And saying that this is the solution that I'm going to provide. Then you can explain how we are going to implement it on the implementation. So say these are the tools and technologies I'm going to use. I'm going to React because of this reason. I'm going to use Python for this reason, and I'm going to use that library. I'm going to use this library because of these reasons. You can come up with your reasonings based for your for the technologies that you are going to use, whatever, right? Or tools that you are going to use, right? Then you can say, you can provide some code samples, right? Maybe proof of concept, saying that this is how it's going to look like after we implement. This is this is a code sample, and maybe like a small demo, right? So it will help you to give us an idea how this is going to work, and this is feasible, or like that this student have an idea about what he is going to implement and how he is going to implement the solution, right? So then as a part of this implementation, you can include a timeline as well, right? You can say within first week I'm going to do this, right? This in the second week, these are things I'm going to deliver. So you can have some sort of, you can divide these 12 weeks. You have 12 weeks to code, right? So you can divide these 12 weeks into some smaller parts and say these are the deliverables that I'm going to deliver, right? So then so when we are like reviewing your proposals, then we have an idea. We can get an idea whether like you know what to do, and you know how to prioritize stuff, and how to divide your work within these 12 weeks, right? So include all those stuff that will help you to increase the chances of getting selected. So then once you have those stuff, you can compile all these things into a PDF document and submit. But you can like submit. You can create a Word doc. A Google Doc, and it's Google Summer of Code, right? So you can create a Google Doc and share that link on GSoC. Within the GSoC dashboard, right? You have to get registered. So visit that link. I think it's on the comment section, the summer of code with google.com, and register yourself. And there you can see that there's a place to submit your draft. Then your mentors can review it, right? So let's go through. I have one of here. I have a proposal. This is just a sample. To you to show you kind of a good proposal that we received on last year. It's from Anjula. He will be talking within this session, and yeah, so this is one of the best proposals we received last year. Let's go through this. These are the things that required section means that this stuff comes from proposal template from OpenMRF. So these are the questions, right? So he have a tell about his experience and his previous contributions and his blog links, whatever that to demonstrate his capabilities and skills, and GSoC backgrounds, OpenMRF, and sorry, this stupid scroll. All right. And here he have list all the PRs that he sent to the organization, right? So, and also PR reviews. so within this period, like try to send. You don't have to send 10 PRs. Like it's something. It's not that easy to send 10 PRs because it takes time. So maybe like a couple of PRs will help. At OpenMRS, we expect at least I can't remember. It's 3 PRs, I guess. So yeah, try to send some PRs. So it is not required in some other organization, but it will help you to demonstrate that your capabilities, right? Okay, this is the best part. Now we are in the project proposal section. So here, like he have added an introduction, a project background. This is the requirement section actually. So and he have observed existing solutions and issues with the existing solutions and functional requirements. These are the functional requirements that he identified. We should be able to search by concepts or whatever. So these are this is kind of example that you can list down all the functional requirements, and also he have prioritized them, right? These are things must have, and you can say like you can add some levels: must have, should have, could have, would not have, will not have, likewise, right? Then he have identified non-functional requirements, and yeah. Now we have then here's another chapter on design. So here, like he have identified some sort of components in this he's trying to implement, right? And some sort of wireframes there for each page. So yeah, and finally the implementation. Yeah, is trying use selected some set of tools and language, and in some mockups and sample codes, right? Sample payloads are there to give an idea about like how he's going to implement it, right? So and finally, there's a timeline and with deliverables, right? So yeah, I mean, you don't have to follow this exact structure, but make sure that these components included in your proposal, right? So it will help you to give an idea about what you're going to implement and how you're going to implement and why they need to select you, right? So yeah, so this is very important. When you're applying, make sure that you read all the organization guidelines carefully, because sometimes there are some activities applicants need to do, right? And some maybe number of PRs, or maybe some sort of what we call some sort of questions, mandatory questions that you need to include answer on your proposal, whatever. So make sure that you read all the guidelines, and you have an idea about the guidelines of the organization that you're going to apply and their expectations. And in order to write kind of a proposal, you need to have you need to go through your project idea, and you need to do some thorough research on the project that you are going to apply, right? And also within that proposal, the application, you need to like showcase your skills and relevancy for this project, and your passion towards the project, right? So it will help you help us to get an idea about yourself, right? Because we need to select the best candidate from the applicants, right? So you need to help us in order to select you. Otherwise, how would we know, right? They can't like go through all the applicants' profiles and find out whether you are good enough to do this project or not, right? So make sure that you include all the stuff there, and also like you need to like properly structure your proposal, and try to add some standard charts or whatever, like make sure that it's easy to understand, right? And properly formatted, and don't have like different font sizes here and there, right? So make sure that you organize it in a good way. And also like yeah, this is very important when you are like um, applying for a project. Make sure that you have that project have a responsive mentor, because um, we usually assign we are usually assigning 1 or 2 mentors per project. So their duty is like help you, but I mean, you need to they need to be responsive in order to ask questions, right? Otherwise, like if you ask a question today and if he replies after 3 or 4 days, then it's really hard for you to identify those requirements and stuff, like clarify your questions. So make sure that you have a responsive mentor, so that you can easily discuss, maybe proofread your application, right? I said like there's a mechanism to provide a draft, right? So it will be easy for you to if the mentor is responsive enough. Then yeah, those are the things I wanted to cover. So I know this looks like something hard, but it's not that hard actually, right? It's the hardest thing is like getting started. Once you like once you start with something, then you can like continue. I mean, like, don't so you might like when you pick an idea, then you might not have a clear picture of what we are going to write on the proposal, right? So if you start there, like, don't just sit there and think about it, like work on it. So do something, the answers will follow. So it I mean, like just try to write something, then you will end up with a good proposal, right? So it like it's kind of a good opportunity for you. So this like helped me. This was a like GSoC was a turning point in my life, I would say, right? So it helped a lot throughout my career, because like I um, I received like I got my job even before I graduate, and finally I'm now an employee at OpenMRS. So OpenMRS is a well established open source community, and it's a privilege for me to work for an open source organization, and it helped me a lot to learn stuff. And yeah, so it's kind of a good opportunity that you don't need to miss, right? So start today, do something, write something, and try to come up with a good proposal and try to get selected. And maybe like even writing this proposal would be a good experience for you, right? So because like in order to write a proposal, you need to go through, like you need to do research, and you need to talk with people, you need to post some post on their communities, maybe like talk with people, join some meetings, and see how the real world projects operate, right? That experience is also like will be helpful for you to learn something. So just try to apply, and like open source is something it's not like it's something sweet and like it's something that you can really really enjoy and be proud of yourself, because like you are helping these projects are like solving real world problems, right? So like as an example, OpenMRS is like it's kind of a medical recording system that the entire world is using. So one PR you are sending for OpenMRS or whatever, like in this example, the one PR you send for OpenMRS will save a life. So it's kind of a good opportunity for to work, right? So just start it and just use this use these 9 days to come up with come up with a good proposal, right? So that's a nice quote. So how do you eat an elephant, right? So it's a big thing, right? Completing this project proposal or doing GSoC is a big thing, but how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? Do something smaller at a time, and you eventually will end up with like by doing something great and something you will become someone like who is like someone whose others is like dreaming about and like talking about. Someone is like a pro open source contributor and like someone has a good portfolio, right? So just uh, uh, just one bite at a time. All right, so those are stuff wanted to cover. If you have any questions, you can drop your questions on the comment section, and we can like there will be Q&A section after the other speakers talk to you, and we'll try to answer your questions as much as we could. And apart from that, you can like if you need these materials and stuff, you can. It doesn't matter you apply for another organization. Just like join our GSoC channel to get some info or tips or whatever. And if you need help reviewing your proposal, it's slack.openmrs.org. Right? It doesn't matter if whether you apply for another organization. Just join the GSoC channel. We can discuss their stuff there. All right. So with that, and also like you can email me if you have questions. All right. So those are the things I wanted to cover today. Yeah, I'm handing over the stage to the moderator. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Jayasankar, for that amazing session. I'm sure all the viewers got a great idea on how to submit an application to this year's GSoC. So thank you very much, Jayasankar. A kind reminder to all our participants and viewers, if you have any questions, please send it through the comment section or the Q&A. We will have a Q&A session at the end of all the speeches. So please make sure to send all your questions to us. Okay, so next up is our experience sharing session. So our first speaker is a GSoC was a GSoC student at 2020 at CERN and a former software engineer at WSO2, and he's currently a research scholar at CERN. Kalana Vijaytunga. Over to you.
All right, thanks, Ivan. So I guess everybody is pretty familiar with what GSoC is and basically what you have to do to get selected and all the preparation stuff. So right now, as Asel might have already mentioned, you might be overwhelmed right now, but this overwhelming will be going away pretty soon because once you do GSoC, you get a ton of stuff. So right now, we are talking about. Right. I got a message saying my audio is a little bit unclear, so let me calm a bit here. Right. So I'll be talking about why you should do GSoC. Basically, you have to do a lot of commitment, dedication, and get into these programs. And I'm here to talk about why you get after that. Because at the end of the tunnel, you have not a little amount of light, but a lot of amount of light. So starting off, let's start off with a bit about myself. I'm Kalna Vijayatunga, and I was undergraduate at University of Moratuwa, and right now I'm pursuing my master's again at University of Moratuwa CSC department, means Computer Science and Engineering department. And right now I'm a research scholar in an experiment called ALICE at CERN. I'll tell what CERN is in a couple of slides. And I was a software engineer at WS2 until a few weeks back. So, and I have actually moved to Switzerland in this month to start working at CERN. And this whole CERN experience of myself starts with my entrance to the GSoC program in 2020. So I want to tell you about my experience and how everything is related, and basically what you get after this. You will be doing GSoC, and initially as I told you that it's much more important to get introduced to this community, and then you can continue in that community, and that will actually lead to a lot of things. And as Daisanga mentioned, it would be a career changing point in your life. As he said, it was a critical point in his life, and it's similar to myself. Basically, my whole career is based on my GSoC entrance as well, and I'm here to tell you about my experience. So, CERN is the place or the organization where I did GSoC. So, if you don't know what CERN is, I'll give you a bit of intro. It's the European Organization for Nuclear Research, and don't be scared with the word nuclear research. We do a lot of computing stuff. Basically, to do this nuclear research, we need supercomputers and all of this stuff. So we have a lot of GSoC projects. And CERN houses the world's largest particle accelerator. So this particle accelerator, I guess most of you are not familiar with the stuff, but I'll bring in a familiar reference to get an idea about what it is. I guess most of you guys have watched the Flash TV series, right? And in the TV series, you have this in the Star Labs. You have a huge tunnel where this Flash keeps running and trying to get to the speed of light and stuff to go to the past. So this is in reality, this is the place that it actually happens. And mind you, there's no human running inside this tunnel, but a couple of protons accelerated up to the speed of light, almost up to the speed of light, and we do some collisions and do experiments. So this is a huge organization with more than 2,500 staff and more than 12,500 users. And Sun is a pretty big organization in the open source community as well. We contribute like one of the main contributors to GSoC program, and just in 2020 we had 34 completed projects for GSoC, around 50 or so like project ideas, but finally 34 got through. And a few minutes back I actually checked the 2023 program as well, and we have around 38 project ideas right now, so you can pick any of them and apply. And what I'm here to tell you about is actually my journey, how being a GSoC student at CERN unraveled my life journey to be a research scholar at CERN in a couple of years. So this is basically where we continue collaborations and continue volunteering at open source stuff. And basically the starting point for the whole thing is being a GSoC student at 2020. All right, so if I tell you just about my timeline, pretty small thing. So in 2020, I think maybe along with one of these couple of mentors, I have been a GSoC student at CERN in 2020. And in this up to April to August, in this summer, I was working with a student project at CERN. So just to give a gist of it, I was being a final year student at the moment, and lot of us were actually discussing if we will be able to do this, because we had the final year research project and I don't know, like 5 or 10 modules to do, and this is like another internship. But don't be scared like that, because you can do it. And I think me, myself, and all these speakers here are like the living proof that you can do it. And we are basically from the community of, like, from Sri Lanka and your general community, so anybody can do it. So just get around with your friends and start doing something, and you'll get there. And once that is done, I within this 2020 to 2021, with this communication, basically the connections I got, I was able to actually establish collaboration with University of Morocco and CERN. And with this one, we actually, now the University of Morocco students can actually now work on the CERN projects even without GSoC. They will not get paid, but they'll get experience and access to bunch of cool stuff like supercomputers, grid computers, and a bunch of stuff. So in parallel, I became a software engineer at CERN, but the important stuff is ever since then, I was working parallelly and continuously with CERN as a volunteer. So 2021 to 2023, until somewhere around February, I was volunteering at CERN and working at WS2 at the same time. But now, after that, a full-time research scholar at CERN and based in Switzerland, and I'll be continuing to doing so. So this is not to about boast about myself or anything. I just wanted to tell you that this whole thing spin up as because of this small thing I did in 2020. And this could be a career changer for you as well. So I really wanted to emphasize you that you should try it, and you don't know what basically the outcome would be something you might not have thought in this year, but going into the future, couple of years into the future, you'll see, you look back just like as I'm doing right now, and you'll see how GSoC has changed your life. And if that's not enough, I do have a couple of another advantages to tell you about doing GSoC. The main thing being you getting a one-time referral for a job at Google. So actually, not for a job, but for applying for the job, you get a direct referral if you are a GSoC student who has completed a previous session. And the other thing is, if you forget about forget about Google, let's say you are going to somewhere in a Sri Lankan company to work, and when you are applying along with your batch, right? So everybody in the batch will have one internship. Usually everybody will have at least one internship in this application pool, but you'll be having 2 internships. So that's obviously an advantage, and it will obviously be a star feature in your resume. And as I have already explained to you, this would be giving you a lot of international connection, and that would spin up to great things in the future. Finally, as Asel mentioned, if all of these do not matter to you, just think about the money, because it's huge. Right now, if you do a small project, it would be 1,500, and for a large project, it would be 3,000. And right now, $3,000 is about 1 million, even with these fluctuations like rupee appreciating recently. So I don't think being a Sri Lankan student without a job, basically being a Sri Lankan undergraduate, you can't easily get access to your own 1 billion in an easy way other than this. So if you think you're overwhelmed, this is too much, I won't get much out of it, everything would be a very good thing for you, but just forgetting about the open source stuff and all, you'll be getting actually at least 1 million in your hand. So that's a plus point if you ask me. So about the misconceptions, I think as I already mentioned, so I'll quickly skip through this. And I have to say, if you want it, you can definitely do it, and that's what all these speakers are saying. A couple of tips from my side, that consistency is the key in GSoC. Basically, if you have become a GSoC mentor, or even if you are looking at GSoC in a different perspective view other than a student, you'll see that we see a lot of spikes where, like, all of a sudden hundreds of students want to contribute to the project, but they keep going on for like a week, and at the end of the week we get like 1 or 2% left. So consistency is the key. Just keep contact with your mentor throughout this period, and like don't just start everything all of a sudden and drop everything and just move on to another project. Just get a project, uh, focus on that, and have a consistent flow with your mentor. And at this point, like as we have already discussed, you'll at some point feel, I'm overwhelmed, I want to keep up, I can't do this. But be around with a very group of friends and encourage yourselves each other, and don't give up, because at the end you will get a bunch of cool stuff. The rest of the things have already been discussed by the previous speaker, so I'll quickly skip through it and keep going. Good luck. You'll definitely be able to do it, so don't worry about it. Just get an initiative, start off, and pretty soon you'll be doing GSoC 2023. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Kalana, for that inspiring speech. I believe it will be inspiring for all GSoC students this year as well. Next up, we have another GSoC student who was participating at 2021, also from MRS, and he was also a GSoC mentor at Open MRS, and currently he is a software engineer at Communi. Please welcome Heshan Andrews. Over to you, Heshan.
All right. So I hope everybody can hear me. So I'll just
Yes.
start by introducing myself. First of all, thank you, Shairu. And yeah, so I'll just go on and talk about like my experience in GSoC and sort of like what followed afterwards and what sort of things that you can expect, like if you get selected for GSoC. First, introducing myself. I'm Heshan. I'm Heshan Andrews, and I'm a third year undergrad at UCSC. And right now, I'm a mentor in 2023 GSoC at OpenMRS, and I used to be a student in 2021, also at OpenMRS, and then. Right after GSoC, I got to get involved in a project over there at Norway called Communion, and right now I'm an employee over there too. I work as a software engineer. So those are sort of like the highlights of like the journey I've had from the time I did GSoC in 2021, I think. So that's about myself and about the experience. It's in 2021, like around this time, I I actually like wasn't expecting to like apply for GSoC. Like I had this like vague idea in my mind that if I can apply to GSoC, like it'll be cool. Like if I can like do a project over there, like I'll get like all the clout that the people who has done GSoC seem to get. Like if I can get that, if I can get to that point, like it'll be pretty cool. And this at that time I was a second year, I think, second year or first year or something, first year, second semester or something. So at that time, like it was sort of like a dream to me, and I wanted to apply, but I didn't really know like what exactly to do, or like which organization to pick, how do I write a proposal, like all of these things, they seemed a bit daunting to me. Like I didn't want to like really put in the effort. But around this time, like once like all the organizations were announced, uh, and I was a bit like I know like in the previous slides that you had like with Jaya's session and Asel's session, like they were like be an early bird, be an early bird. Like I know it's pretty advantageous to like be an early bird, but I mean, what's if you're not an early bird? Like what would happen? Like I mean, if you're late to the party, like does that mean like you have like zero chance of like getting into GSoC or like getting into like anything at all? Like no, right? Like you just have to apply. So that's what I did. Like that's exactly what I did. I got to know about like about OpenMRS through Jai in 2021, around this same time period within like the GSoC timeline. It was just after like the organization list was announced. So I just picked like I just picked like the picked a random project out of like the project list that OpenMRS had listed. Just wrote a proposal. That's all I did. Like I just went through like I previously I had done some like some volunteering like in OpenMRS to like the same module. So it was a bit like easier for me to get in, but still like I didn't know like what exactly to do. So uh, like how do I devise a solution for like the problem that they have like mentioned in that idea list? Like how do I do all of this? Like at that point I didn't really know like what to do. But what I did was I just sat down. I went through the objectives list. I went through the description. I went through the documentation, and then after putting in like a couple of hours like into like writing the proposal and devising a solution, there was a light blinking in my head. Like I kind of had an idea of like, all right, so if I'm able to like it was a vague idea. Like even that was not like concrete. Like I didn't know like if the things that I'm banking my solution on was like already implemented, or like would I need to like if I get selected, would I need to like build them from ground up or anything? Like I didn't know. What I did was I just drew some diagrams with the idea that I had in my head. So uh, to give you some like context about like what my project was, it was a really simple project. Like when I think of it now, like that didn't seem very simple like when I started writing the proposal, but right now I feel like it's a really simple one. It's just that like there's some set of data like metadata. Like it's sort of like OpenMRS is a medical reporting system. So you have patients and patient data and patient reports, like the reports that they do like as patients. Like if you're diagnosed with something, like you submit a report, right? You have like your blood report or something. So those reports, you just have to if you can like extract them from one OpenMRS instance and like upload them to another and like make it available like in that system too. Like that was the whole project that I had to do. So I didn't know like what exactly to do. That was the entire like the the entire description that I had in my head, like in a way, right? So I took that and I thought like if I can write it down in like some format, like be JSON, like if I can get like the data object from the database and write everything down like in a file and make it available to like be downloaded. And then if I can make like a similar UI that accepts like that same file with the same format, like I'll be able to do it. So that's how I like went about like when I said like there was a light like blinking in my head with an idea, like that's what I meant. I just read what was written in like the objectives, and then like I just thought of that solution. I just wrote it down and just submitted the proposal. And I was fortunate enough to get selected with just that. But it's not just that. It's just that like I had that idea. It was very simple, but I put in like the hours, like the effort that you need to like get an idea and develop it into like a good proposal. Like right now, at this point, you guys would have like all the tips and tricks you need to like write your own proposal with like the amazing session that Jaya did a few sessions back. So you now know like how to write the proposal. You just have to like get that idea. You break it down into like you properly like identify the requirements, and then you go over to the design, and then you logically design the system using UML or something else. It doesn't matter. You just have to like convey like the idea that you have in your head, and and the solution that you're proposing to implement. So that's all you got to do. And then you write about the implementation, how you would go about, like, is it technically possible, like what are the technologies you are going to use, what are the APIs that you need to like make this available, like what are the UIs you need to create. It depends solely on your project. Like if it's just backend, like it'll be just that. Like what are the tables that you need to create, like if it involves some database objects or tables that you need to create, like you need to think about all of that too. So in a way, like in my opinion, like this shaped like the software engineer I am today, like with the experience that I had in GSoC. So that was sort of like a point in my life that uh, I remember writing this blog article as well. Like the name of like the title of that blog article was "Moment of Clarity," because it truly was a moment of clarity. Because like 5 6 weeks into my GSoC project, like even at that point, like even though I had that initial idea, like I didn't know like how actually like implement it. Like I was just going around in the code base, just throwing things at it, just hoping it would work. Like I was doing that, and then at some point it just clicked, and it worked. And then like I wrote this article saying that like moment of clarity, and how like I went about like doing some things, and finally I found the right way to like implement it. And that that whole experience in itself, I think it encapsulates like what you need as a software engineer, like all the fundamental things that you need as a software engineer. This is the experience that you need to have, because you get to communicate with like actual professional people. Like that's something you don't really get, like when you do your second year group project or third year group project or final year project. Like that's not something that you get. Of course you get to like interact with your supervisor, but that's not the same thing, because they are lecturers, and like the industry people, they're not on the same wavelength, let's say. Like it's different, and you can get that experience. Like you only get that experience like when you go to your internship. And then even at your internship, you don't really get to like own a project, and then like completely devise a solution, think about the architecture, think about the system designs, think about like it'll be at that point, it'll be like, the tickets are all defined for you. You just pick the ticket and do it. Like you have the issues on GitHub, the tech lead or the senior engineer in your team would like see to that, and you just pick it and do it. So that's sort of like a developer job, right? But at like if you do GSoC, it's not just that, dude. Like it's like you're this engineer who are like engineering this proper solution for a real world problem. Like that's rare to get, especially like over here in Sri Lanka. Like if you can do it, you should do it. And the most important thing about it is the core engineering skills that you need. It's not that you need, like, you don't have to be the person, have to be like the exact person who can actually like deliver like what is expected of GSoC when you start, right? It's just that you gradually become that person, and by the end of it you become that person who delivered it, right? So that's one of the points that I needed to like nail down before going into that main point I was talking about. uh, so those core engineering skills, there's no better opportunity for you to uh, for for all the undergraduates over here than GSoC to do this, to become a better software engineer. I think like if you need to like come up with a nice formula for you to like by the end of your undergraduate degree, like if you want to become a good software engineer, like what are the things that you need to have, and then you reverse engineer it and then try to do a project that is similar to that, with like all the communication that you have to do with your mentors, and then all the people in the community, and then the all the technical stuff that you have to do, all the frameworks and all of that languages that you get exposed to doing a real world projects, all of that, those things add up, and by the end of it you tend to become a better software engineer. So that's one of the things. But one of the things that I wanted to focus a lot here is that most of the things that I just mentioned as like the core engineering skills that you need to have to become a software engineer, those are not uh, just exclusive to the people who get selected to GSoC, right? Like all of those things that sort of said, like reverse engineer from being like a good software engineer by the end of like your bachelor's degree, and then you get the set of skills that you need to have. You can just do it, right? Like you just have the proposal period for it. It's all about the proposal. You just maybe not the implementation part, like you get to like 100% complete it like if you get selected, but like 80% of the things you can do right now. So I mean, for anybody listening right now, just write a proposal, just try to uh, you know just try to just pick a random project, think about it, maybe an idea will pop into your head, and then try to write the proposal for it, try to engage with the community, try to talk with the mentor of that project. All of that stuff you can do, and if you can devise a solution, I think that's a pretty neat exercise that you can do to like brush up your engineering skills. Like that'll be a really nice exercise. So even if you think you have like no chance in the world, like I have, let's say like you haven't sent any PRs, you haven't reviewed any pull requests, you haven't talked with anybody in the organization as of yet. Just use the time that you have until like 4th of April. Get in touch with the community, just write a proposal, submit it, and like you the worst that could happen is you'll have a pretty good software engineering solution that you came up with, you yourself came up with. So that's really good, and I encourage everybody listening to do just that. And good luck, and I'm a mentor this time at OpenMRS, so if you want to do like the same exact things that I mentioned in this session over there at OpenMRS, you can send a proposal to one of the projects that I'm mentoring, so you can do that too. Just head over to like OpenMRS wiki idea list, and you'll be able to find that. And I wish everybody here best of luck, and good luck with your career and GSoC and everything that's to come afterwards. Goodbye. Sairu?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. He's here. He's here.
Thank you, Heshan, for sharing your inspiring story with all of us. Next up, we have another GSoC student who participated in 2022. He's also from OpenMRS, and currently he is a QA engineering fellow and a GSoC mentor at OpenMRS. Please welcome Anjula Samarasinghe. Anjula, over to you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Sairu, for introducing me. Let me introduce myself again. So I'm Anjula. I'm currently working as a QA engineering fellow at OpenMRS. And also I will be a mentor this year. I did my GSoC in 2022, which was last year. And also I am the CTO of Sustainable Education Foundation, which is another organization. I think Jasanka mentioned this. And also, I'm currently a physical science undergraduate at University of Sri Jagadantpur. So let me explain let me just tell my journey so far. I think Heshan did a good job explaining about how you have to select your project and how to go through it to work on that project. So yeah, so before joining OpenMRS, I joined the Sustainable Education Foundation. It was my first open source experience. So that's where I learned everything. That's where I learned how to communicate, how to be transparent with everything, how to open pull requests. Everything I learned from Ceph. That's where I learned. That's like the starting point of my career. And I joined the Ceph when after doing A-levels, where you don't have an idea what to do. You just watching TV series and movies, just wondering what to do. So that's when Jayasank introduced me to Ceph. So with Ceph, I started with real small issues. So whatever the organization you joined, you can start with real small issues. So I started with real small issues. It can be aligning a button, aligning a title, or fixing a typo in some description. It can be really small thing. And you can work to up from that point. So then at Ceph, I learned a lot of stuff. I learned React and most of the technology I know through Ceph because I had contributed to those projects. So by the time I'm joining the OpenMRS, I was already familiar with this open source community, how an open source organization works, and so I was since I was like already familiar with that, it was not like a whole new experience, but it was still challenging for me uh, to join OpenMRS because the way the technologies they use is different, the software is different, the architecture and everything is different. So it takes some time to get used to that community, but everything else was I was already familiar with thanks to Ceph. So again, as I mentioned, I started with really small issues even with OpenMRS. Then I worked work my way up with like some intermediate stuff. So that's and also I was keep looking for. I was looking at the previous proposals, previous GSoC projects to get an idea how what sort of projects they do have, and I did apply in 2021, but I just applied for the sake of applying. So it was a really bad proposal. I think had I didn't had any contributions as well as I can remember. So I wrote like a 7-page proposal, and like 5 pages out of the 7 page was like the OpenMRS template. So I just wrote like 2 new pages. So you can get an idea how bad it was. So in 2022, I started earlier. So I went through the project ideas, and one of the project caught my eye, and I started record gathering. I was talking to the mentors. I was doing issues that related to that, and so on. And also, I joined the Scott calls. I was active at their Slack channels, the community threads, and all of the things. So when it comes to writing the proposal, it was still challenging because that, I think this was like the first time I actually wrote like a proper proposal. So it's really challenging but every time you get a question, just ask through their community channel. So OpenMRS had this OpenMRS talk, which is a Discord channel. You can just ask stuff. There are a lot of people that are willing to help you. You just have to ask for help. So that's a really awesome thing about open source. People are always there to help you. So don't worry if you're struggling with something. So just ask. So you just have to ask. So then I was able to write a proposal. As I think Jasanka showed my proposal, it is like 50-page proposal. After that, I got selected. Then the proposal contains how you're going to do your project. It has the what are the technologies you are going to use, the timeline, like when are you are going to deliver the stuff, deliver the features that of the project. I mean, you have the timeline, everything is there. So the really hardest part is just getting selected, but so after it's like really smooth, you just have to follow what the timeline and the project based on your the proposal. So while doing that also, you can just always be transparent, always communicate with your mentors, have weekly discussions and write blog posts. So give updates regarding your project, keep everyone updated. So if you are facing even a blocker or some challenge, you will be able to get everyone on board, and you can get solved it really fast and still make it to your milestones on time. So that's really important, like communicating with your mentor and the community members of the organization. So my project was also a medium-sized project, like a 12-week project. So I was in first year doing when I was doing GSoC. It can be tough, but to manage everything, but still you can do it, and it's okay to focus on GSoC. You got selected the other academics. I mean, it's a bit really bad advice. Don't not follow that. That's really bad. Anyway, so yeah, and, after 2 weeks, I was able to successfully completed the project, and I was able to learn a lot of new skills. I like the stuff, especially things like communicating. Even though I learned those stuff at SEF, yeah, I was able to improve that stuff. And because the Connemars has like a really big community, so it's a bit different than SEF, but the overall experience was really good. I was able to get to know a lot of people who are really talented people in those relevant areas. It is a really experience. It was a really good experience, and it's nice to have it on your CV. Just says Google Summer of Code internship, and as Kalana, I think, yeah, as Kalana said, you can have like 2 internships by the time when you're done with your graduation. So, and another thing is recognition. You get some recognition. Even these days, through LinkedIn, you get like a lot. I get like a lot of questions especially from Indian students. So there are a lot of Indian students applying for GSoC. I'm not sure about the stats, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of the GSoC students are from India. So I'm getting questions like how to get started and things like that. So having this type of session is really good. So it's nice that Slipforce were able to organize this. We also did one for SEF. So whenever someone reaches out, we can just share this recording. So it's really nice to have this. So as I said, the overall experience is really great. And after doing GSoC, I still continued with my contribution for OpenMRS. Then I was able to get employed at OpenMRS as a Q engineering fellow. So yeah, that's it. So if I was able to do it, you can also do it. So start early, write a good proposal. That's just the most things. That's like the 2 important things I like to highlight. And I don't even have a CS background on physical science, and so wait, my computer just. I hope. Sorry, I think I had some connections. All right. So as I was saying, I don't have a this background. I'm doing physical science, and I was doing it at first year of my undergraduate program. So if I was able to do it, so can you. So good luck with your GSoC journey. I wish everyone will be able. I wish that everyone will be able to achieve their GSoC dream. And I also like to invite you to join SAFE and OpenMRS. And lastly, feel free to feel free to reach me through Slack. Slack through LinkedIn. Just search Anjula Samarasinghe, you will be able to find me. So if you have any questions, just reach to me. So yeah, that's my experience. I'll hand it over back to Cyril.
Yes, thank you, Anjula, for inspiring us once again. Next up, our final speaker for today is a GSoC student at the years 2021 and 2022 from OpenMRS, and he's currently a QA engineering fellow and a GSoC mentor at OpenMRS. He is Puma Ratnayakar. Puma, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sairu. So I'm Pimal. I'm currently a third year computer engineering undergraduate at University of Peradeniya. And as Sairu said, I'm also working as a quality assurance engineering fellow at OpenMRS. So I'll start with the GSoC projects I did and what I achieved through GSoC. And I'll also tell you some of the opportunities that you might get after completing GSoC. So I participated in Google Summer of Code in 2021 and 2022, both times at OpenMRS. And in 2021, my project was about improving a module called DHIS connector module. It was mostly done with Java, Spring, JSP, MySQL, and that kind of technologies. That module is used by OpenMRS to send aggregated data to DHIS2, which is the world's largest health management information system. Then in GSoC 2022, my project was to create an OpenMRS micro frontend module called OCL subscription module, which allows the OpenMRS implementers to manage medical terminologies through a cloud service called Open Concept Lab. That project was mainly done with React and TypeScript. So those were the two projects I worked on, and it was a really nice experience to work in that kind of like real world projects and which I used in real world applications. So doing GSoC will like definitely improve your skills. For an example, when in the first time I did GSoC, when I'm applying, I only had some basic knowledge on Java and Spring Boot. I didn't have much experience on those technologies. But however, when I'm applying, I went through the OpenMRS wiki pages, threads, and other documentations to get some knowledge about the OpenMRS platform, and I had a pretty good understanding about the project and what to do in the project, even though I didn't know how to do those things. So I think I created like a pretty good project proposal, and so I was able to select for GSoC that year. Then while doing the project, I got to learn those technologies and understand that how those things are applied in real life projects. Yeah, that's about the coding experience. And apart from the coding experience, doing GSoC can open doors to other opportunities as well. For an example, you may get opportunity to attend various conferences, summits, and other kind of events. And as I said earlier, my first GSoC project was involving DHIS2, which is the world's largest health management information system. So after completing my project, I had the opportunity to represent OpenMRS at DHIS2 annual conference. Both me and Jayasankar were guest speakers at that event, and we were able to do a session on DHIS connector module and DHIS2 and OpenMRS interoperability. So you might get that kind of opportunities as well. After completing GSoC for the second time in 2022, I got selected for OpenMRS fellowship opportunity, which is I'm currently working as a quality assurance engineering fellow at OpenMRS. And now I'm also a GSoC mentor this year. So when you complete GSoC as a student, then you can if you stay with that organization, then you can definitely be a GSoC mentor the next year. So you might think that you have to be an expert to get selected for GSoC. Yeah, that's no, because some basic programming knowledge would be enough most of the time, as I said earlier, because GSoC is for open source beginners. So you might only need some basic programming knowledge and some open source best practices. In my opinion, the hardest part, the most challenging part in GSoC is getting selected, because the selection process is highly competitive. After getting selected, completing the project is not that much hard, because there are mentors dedicated for your project, and they will definitely help you anytime throughout the project, and you can have weekly calls and keep them on touch. And so I think Jayasankar did a very informative session on creating a proposal. So I hope you get a pretty good understanding about creating a proposal, because in my opinion, the proposal is the thing that matters most. Then before finishing this, I would like to answer another question most of you might have. That is how to start contributing to open source, and where should we start? So the thing is, you don't have to wait until GSoC to get started with open source projects. Even if you didn't get selected, you can contribute to those organizations and work on their projects, and also you can attend their meetings, and you can contribute to them. So and earlier Anjula also said about SEF, Sustainable Education Foundation. It is where I also started my open source journey. I started by contributing simple tasks like some HTML, CSS stuff, and later I worked on other projects as well. So I think SEF is a good place to start, and you can use that kind of organizations to learn about open source culture and learn about best practices and many other things. So anyway, I hope that you are now very eager to apply for GSoC this year, and also to start your open source journey. So I wish you good luck to all of you, and thank you. Back to you, Sailu.
Yes, thank you, Pimal, for sharing your story with us. I believe our viewers and participants are inspired to participate in GSoC this year. So, with that, all our speakers are done, and now it is time to move on to our Q&A session. So, if you have any questions for our speakers, any questions regarding GSoC or any other thing, please let us know in the Q&A session, comment section, so we can answer your questions. Yes. Right. Okay. Yes. So we have some questions coming up. We have a question. I think this will be a general question. Um, is there any age limit to participate for GSoC? Who would like to take this? Is there any age limit?
I think there's a lower limit. I believe you have to be 18 years old to like participate, but not sure if there's an upper limit. Maybe Jaisang is. Oh,
No, there's
Ananda?
no upper limit. There's no upper limit. So all you have to be is more than
18,
18
yeah.
years old, and the requirement is to be either a student or a beginner to open source. That's the requirement.
Okay. So we can move on to the next question. Question to Mr. Kalna Vijayathun. So, did you have any physics background when you were applying to CERN?
No, I at that moment I had none, and yeah, up until recently, and rather than the discussions I have with the physicists around here, I do not have any physics background, and that's the interesting part about GSoC. Basically, you can be anything without any like basic advantages, basic sorry knowledge, and like I think Anjula is a physics student who did a CS like computing project, and we have mathematics students, nuclear engineering students, everybody doing computing projects, and computing students doing physics stuff. So yeah, that's the interesting part. You don't have to be an expert, just get started.
So, what you're saying is anyone who is interested can apply and just participate in GSOC.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So, we have another general question. At around what time should we look for an organization? Around.
No.
I think right now would be the perfect time. Yeah. Tonight would be the, yeah.
So, I would like to remind us, I think the deadline was 4th of April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4th
Yes.
of
So, we
April. So
have time until 4th of April. Right.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, we have some questions coming in. Sapumal is saying that some of the projects that some of us like to contribute are actually looking too complex. They are at levels where one at our current level of knowledge won't even know where to start with rather than draft a proposal. Have any of you faced such a scenario? And if you can, please give some tips to get around it. Shall I repeat
Um,
the question if you want?
yeah, I think it's on the comment section. Right? So yeah, uh, I mean, like that doesn't matter. Like just try to. I mean, so try to understand the problem by. There are like if you join the community, like I mean, like, communities, they usually have weekly meetings, right? Several meetings spread along the week. So you can join one of them and like ask questions regarding your project, and like try to come up with something, right? I mean, like you can learn along the while you are doing the project, right? So you don't need to like say if it's a Java based project but you only know about like basic stuff in Python, but it's okay, right? You can just like uh, I mean, just try to write the proposal, put whatever the things you already know, right? Try to like come up with some sort of solution, and get some comments from your mentor. Have organize a call with your mentor, and try to come. Then like try to document your findings, whatever. So that would be enough. So you don't need to like wait until you become perfect.
Also to add on to that, so it the way Shapoval had kind of put that in, like it looks too complex that somebody at one at our current level of knowledge won't even know where to start with. Like that's a feeling that I'm familiar with. Like whatever. I mean, even though like we are doing this session, like we are just people out here, right? And for everybody to like start at something, it's every time when it's something new, it feels complex. So that's one of the feelings that like you're going to experience when you join a new company, or like if you're like getting into a new project that has been going on for a while. Like you do feel that there's some initial level of complexity that you have to pass through to like get to like the point where like how everything works and how everything is connected. So most of the things, the complexities that you get to see on the facade right now, it's not really about technologies. To say that like you don't have like the level of knowledge right now, it's to say that you don't have the project based knowledge that they need to like sort of document, right? It's not just like you don't know Java, and that because of that like this project looks complex. It's because you have this project and there's a lot of logic behind like how that specific software solution is operating within their set of frameworks, with their concepts, with their data structures, with their database entities and all of that that they have over there in that system. So that's why you feel like it's a bit too complex for you to like even start on a start on writing a proposal or even start thinking about a solution. So that's like the initial barrier that you have to get through, because all of those things are the things that like that organization supposed to provide you with if you are to write a proposal on that specific project, like under that specific topic. So at OpenMRS, like sorry to bring up OpenMRS all the time, but that's the only experience I have. But so if you go to like one of the ideas list, like you can go to like the bottom if you go to like the bottom of the page, like you'll be able to find like related links, and they'll link up like all the discussions they've had like about that specific problem, and what are the issues that people are currently working on, and who are the people who like we call them like project champions, who are the people who has the context about like what is going on actually in this project. So reach out to those people, follow those links. The initial level of complexity that you feel, the dauntingness, that's something that you're supposed to feel. Don't get discouraged. Just follow those things. Like if you really need to write a proposal and submit, you reach out to those people, you follow those documentation links, and you'll find the answer. So just don't think it's not something that you can do with the level of knowledge that you have. I know for sure that I didn't have like a lot of knowledge on CS or mathematics or like anything fundamentally. Like I didn't have anything that I had in to say that I'm a prodigy or something. It's just that you just go through documentation and read stuff, dude. Like that's it. Just try to like put in that effort at least.
Let me add a little bit to that. Just to say, my experience, I didn't know what the hell is nuclear physics or what the hell is a supercomputer when I started off with CERN. So just talk to the people, and the point is like you initially talk with people and get to know them, get to know the idea. It's not that you start off with writing a proposal. Just talk with everybody, uh, listen to the requirements, see what you can do, and then start writing the proposal. So yeah, just follow what everybody said and you'll be good.
Yeah, I think like I have one book with me. There's a nice quote in this book. So let me quote it. When I was in high school, my math teacher, Mr. Packwood, used to say, if you're stuck on a problem, don't just sit there and think about it. Just start working on it. Even if you don't know what you are doing, the simple act of working on it will eventually cause the right ideas to show up in your head. Um, the book's name is Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I think, yeah, it's wrote by Mark Manson. So, yeah, just like wanted to go.
Right. I think you got a very good answer to that somewhat, very descriptive one. So it's just a matter of starting. I think since most of the applicants are undergraduates, I think complexity is something that we are very familiar with. So I think it's just a matter of starting so far. So we have one question again, and he says, even after my research, I feel like my idea isn't original. How should I cope with that?
I'd say that's not what you should focus on, because being pragmatic software engineers is that you provide a solution for the given problem. That that's all there is to it. It doesn't have to be original. So if the problem that they have is to like send out like some email forms or something, the solution is to use Google Forms. It doesn't have to be original. And that just using Google Forms as a tool would be the software engineering solution that you provide to that problem. It doesn't have to be original. uh, how should I cope with that? It doesn't have to be original. It just you provide a solution. You just be pragmatic about it. That's it.
Yeah, how you
Just
are basically. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, Karan.
So what I was gonna say is like how you are gonna be evaluated is based on how much you know about the idea and how your design is good or not, and how you plan to implement it, such stuff. This is not a basically a innovative competition or something. You just like, you don't have to come up with the original idea, just come up with one that works.
Still like an artist. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So there's a nice book named Still Like an Artist. So you should read that. So yeah, one thing. Yeah, let me try to find. So yeah. So it is. There's a quote: "Every new idea is just a mashup or a remix of one or more previous ideas." So anyway, like as Kalna said, this is not an innovative competition or whatever. So
Yeah.
this what yeah. So you need to like put whatever the things that you already know and from the community.
That's something that you can learn from all the generative AIs you use. That is like on everybody's like peak of interest these days. Like all of those like generative AIs, like is it be it Bard or ChatGPT or whatever, like they're just operating on like the previous data that they had, right? And they're coming up with something. So that doesn't have to be original, but still like Mid Journey produces some amazing pictures to look at. Like that's all that matters in the end. If you can provide like the end users with an amazing product, that's all that matters. So that's one of the things that I resonate with a lot, with John Carmack, and he's considered one of the greatest programmers ever. And he was in the game development scene from early on. Like he's one of the people who like has built up like ground up some of the very technical things. One of the things that I resonate with him a lot is that uh, what his perspective on like being a software engineer is that all that matters is what your end user is going to use at the end, not the technology, not like all the tests that you have to write, or any of the things that you do on a typical day as a software engineer. Like those things add up into like being like very neat, and like you need to in an organization you need to have some level of like organization in it. But at the end of the day, what matters is what you can provide the user with. If you can provide if you can deliver a quality product at the end, that's all that matters.
Thank you, everyone. We have another question from Laksar. Uh, he asks, if we were to work on a project, is the workload manageable while doing university work and an internship?
Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I can agree with that, because when I was doing my I believe my second project, uh, my week looked like, I mean, on the weekdays I had to go to my internship. So on top of that, on the weekends I had my lectures, and obviously there were the assignments and the exams there as well. So it it's a bit, it definitely it's a bit tedious process, but I feel like it's manageable. Like once you get in the flow, and I mean, it doesn't last forever, and there are many incentives to you for you to continue working as well. I'm sure these other speakers agree with you as well, and it 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 it'll be a little bit hard, but once you get in the flow and once you start working on it, I'm sure it's manageable. And it's even if you feel like it's tiresome, I'm sure like if you put in the effort and like complete it, it's definitely worth it. So yeah.
And I would like to add to it, like, say if you have exams or like maybe a release on your internship, right? You can take a break, you can discuss with your mentor, maybe you
Yes.
can extend your coding period. We have done that in previous years. Like I can remember that we had a project on at OpenMRS last year that we extended that project because there was some difficulties. So likewise, like we are so feasible when it comes to those matters. Like what you need to do is like properly communicate your commitments with your mentor, so that would help. So you can arrange stuff.
Yeah, another thing is we have this community bonding period, like it's like 2 weeks. You can just start your project even in that period. You don't have to wait like the actual coding period start.
Yeah.
And let's say when you're working on the project, let's say you were able to deliver this week, so the milestone earlier. Just don't wait until the next timeline, next week to start on the next milestone. Just start the next one with your the extra time you and have in the same week. So I think yeah, I think
Yeah,
that sounds.
yeah. Actually, what Angela said, I just remembered something. Sometimes in some weeks, like when I was free, I actually did 2 weeks worth of stuff and committed only a part of it and kept the rest for the next week. In that week, I won't be working in this project because I have exams or so, but I just committed. So everything is possible when you are there. Just get started. That's what's important.
Okay, nice. Thank you for that. There are no questions yet. Um, I think we can wind up the Q&A. Is there anything that you have to add to our viewers?
Just
I think
good
the
luck.
last thing I can add is like, like everyone here mentioned, just get your feet wet and just get started. It's I think the most like important piece of advice I think I can give. Once you like get started, it doesn't it's not that hard at, hard as it seems. So yeah.
Ishan, you were going to say something? Ishan?
Yeah, I just wanted to say good luck with everything. That's it. As the final note, that's what I want to leave
Yeah.
everybody with.
Yes. So, thank you, everyone. It was a great Q&A session. I think we covered a lot of topics. We covered a lot of books as well and quotes as well from Jayasank. So, thank you, everyone, for joining. Kalana, Jayasank, Kasel, Anjula, Pumal, and Heshan, our speakers. I hope the session was informative, and we hope our speakers and viewers both gained a good insight on GSoC and will hope to apply this year. So the session will be available on our YouTube channel if they want to view later. And if you want to clarify any doubts regarding GSoC, until then, thank you so much for joining and have a very good night. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you so much.